we are 1 month away from preseason football. It's unbelievable. But obviously we're about 64 days away from regular season football. And we got a whole lot of news to get into, so let's begin. First off, the Saints, among multiple teams, are suitors for Richard Sherman's services at cornerback, as the Saints let go of Janoris Jenkins, Jackrabbit as he's called, and now meet another guy to go in that corner. Now obviously they have Marshawn Lattimore, but he wasn't as good last year as he was the year prior, so there is a little concern on that side. But Marshawn deserves a comeback year, and he probably will get a better year this year out of production-wise. We still have to see what Richard Sherman is. He didn't play well last year. He didn't play a lot last year, actually. He gave up a touchdown. He had an interception, but he's getting to that point of his career where it's time to think, maybe he should move to safety. Delaney Walker expects phone calls to come his way soon. Very soon, actually. This is a guy who, 14-year veteran, opted out last year, in great shape. He's in better shape than he has been in a few years, actually. He worked out for the 49ers, the team he got drafted by a few months ago. And they said, yeah, he's good, he's in good shape, but he's not what we're really looking for at this time. So, I hope he gets to play, because he is one of the better tight ends in our history. Is he that number one tight end anymore? Absolutely not. He's got too old for that position, I think. But at number two, absolutely. A wily veteran who's played well, been to Pro Bowls, just never won a Super Bowl. And that's his hope, that he lands with a legitimate Super Bowl contender. A question that comes up to mind, especially to me, and I completely forgot about this, and this is bad on my part, is, what about Larry Fitzgerald? Is he retiring? Is he coming back another year? We don't know. This is the guy who is second all-time behind Jerry Rice in everything. Touchdowns, receiving yards, receptions, everything. He's only second. He's a Hall of Famer. But does he come back, have a chance to be with some great teammates of his, with DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, A.J. Green, amongst others? Will he come back? Because he's walking history. He is walking history. We've talked all about this offseason about Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, but we haven't talked about Larry Fitzgerald. Now, granted, I like Larry Fitzgerald. I think he's a great player. He's only been to the Super Bowl once. He's probably the greatest player at any position besides quarterback to never win a Super Bowl. Because I think at quarterback is Dan Marino. But at wide receiver, it's Larry Fitzgerald. He's just never got a chance to win a Super Bowl. Like, he was in a Super Bowl, but he's just never won one. So, I hope he gets a chance to win the Super Bowl and then ride off into the sunset, because I think that's the one thing that he doesn't have in his career. But we'll leave it to chance. What do you guys think of Larry Fitzgerald if he comes back another year, or does he retire? The NFL has fined 3 teams: the Jacksonville Jaguars, the San Francisco 49ers, as well as the Dallas Cowboys. They fined the Cowboys and the 49ers $100,000. Kyle Shanahan got fined, and Mike McCarthy got fined a total of $50,000. But Jacksonville got fined $200,000, and Urban Meyer got fined $100,000. This is because as we figured out through multiple reports, there was contact practices that are not allowed due to the CBA. So this means that the 49ers and the Cowboys probably only got caught once, and the Cowboys got caught in like September. I mean, not September, in May 22nd, I believe. And I don't know exact at the 49ers, I believe it was more in June. But Jacksonville, the reason why they got fined was because I think it's multiple times. Now, granted, is these life or death money cutting issues? No. Because it's more like a slap on the wrist if you're really being honest. Because what the Cowboys are trying to do, and I assume everyone's trying to do, is make their team more physical. Just make it more physical. Because the Cowboys, I'm not going to really say, oh, they're a soft football team. They're not soft. But they are not physical by any stretch of means, and they've never really been since Rod Marinelli got there. They were never physical. I think the last time they were very physical, if I can remember correctly, was Bill Parcells, and that happened almost 20 years ago. That's how long ago. So they've never really been physical in a very long time. So if they only get fined $100,000 to be physical and lose an OTA day, it's like, okay, we get 10 anyway. We only used 8. We'll be alright. We'll be fine. So it's not the end of the world, but it shows the Jacksonville Jaguars are trying to revamp and trying to do all these hitting drills on these 11-on-11s. It showed they got caught more than once. So we'll just have to see what happens in the not too distant future. The Washington football team, even though they can't be called the Washington football team anymore, because they lost their trademark to it, because a soccer team is called football club, which kind of sounds the same. So they can't be called football team anymore. But, or at least can't have their new name football team. But they got fined $10 million due to the investigation that happened last year in the front office, where multiple women accused the Washington football team front office of abuse. And to the point the NFL investigated and they found out it was true, and they gave them $10 million fine. This also forces Dan Snyder to step down for a period of time, and his wife, Tanya Snyder, will become like interim owner, who this happened on Thursday. She got co-CEO job on Tuesday. So 2 days into her co-CEO position, she has to become now interim owner because her husband has to step away for a little while. The NFL's cool, but that's just the way it goes. It's now granted, it's a step over her whole boundary, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Kurt Warner is going to have a movie made about him called The American Underdog. Now, we don't know if this is his whole career or just the 1997 season, but we do know it will be a part of his career. We knew that. It will be played by Zachary Levi. Or Levy, I don't know. I don't pronounce names always correct. But that is the way it goes. And so, this was expected to happen a few years ago. It just never happened. Zachary Levi will be the Hall of Fame quarterback. In this movie. The Broncos are monitoring the Aaron Rodgers situation, which we'll get to in a little bit. Big money heading to Dallas Goedert's way by the Eagles. This is expected. They are moving on from Zach Ertz. The problem I have with this is Zach Ertz hasn't. I mean, not Zach Ertz, but Zach Ertz hasn't left as of yet, and Dallas Goedert has never been a starter, never been a number one. He's been hurt. So it's very interesting where this goes, because it shows that the Eagles don't really know much about what they're doing at this point. The Cowboys do appear on Hard Knocks. Now, granted, how does this go? There's two sides to this, like on every situation. Let's flip the coin at this point. On the good side, it's well, you get to see the Cowboys from a fan's perspective of this is what happens when we can't go there. We can see what happens from this. And it's good. You get to see all your favorite players like Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, whoever. The problem with this on the other side of the coin is this is going to add to a lot of actorial roles, basically, because it's when you're in Hard Knocks, you don't take yourself really seriously because your camera's always rolling. So it's concerning from that perspective. But Mark Holmes, who's more close to the situation than I am, had said that it's expected, and by the way, go watch what he does there. It's expected, at least on his behalf, that Mike McCarthy may do something he did last year, which was last year he didn't make the players wear the numbers or their names on their jerseys, so no one could know who they were, so that no one could get tape of them. Is he doing that this coming year? Probably not, but he'll probably go and say, hey, these are the people you can look at, and these are the people you can't. It'd just be interesting to see what happens, but I could see that happening in the not-too-distant future. This Hard Knocks will premiere August 10th, that is a Tuesday. This is the third time the Cowboys have been on Hard Knocks. They were on in the second year, pretty much, of Hard Knocks' existence, which was 2002. And then they were on Hard Knocks again in 2008, and now in 2021. It's a good marketing thing. If you're the Joneses some of the Joneses are in marketing, that's good for them. That's good for Jerry. But that's not really good for these athletes that are trying to train. And there's going to be so much actorial stuff going on. We just got to figure out where we're going with this. Trevor Lawrence signs his rookie contract, which is $36.8 million. Now, he's the second quarterback to sign his rookie contract. Justin Fields signed in the middle of June a 4-year, $18.4 million contract. So it's really good. Trevor Lawrence will also receive a little over $24 million guaranteed. It's a good sign for Trevor Lawrence becoming a top 20 highest paid quarterback in his rookie year. Back to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers says, there's wisdom in being silent. Now this comes from the fact that Aaron Rodgers a few months ago said, when people say bad things about him that aren't true, they're just rumors. He goes and he just says, instead of me saying what you should do with it, I'm just going to be silent about it. Because I believe silence is the best medicine for it. It will just go away eventually. This is the same case that he's trying to make. That there's wisdom in it. Now, Aaron Rodgers is obviously a very smart guy. He went to Cal. I think, personally, excuse me, the way he dealt with it was very well done. There's still questions about it, as we saw from the Broncos. What is going to happen? What's going to happen to him? We don't know yet. Now, granted, we will bring it to you when we do know. But it's more of a wait-and-see period, not... Well, we know, we're just not going to say anything. As of yet. But we do not know, but when we do know, we will bring it to you. Andrew Whitworth, the offensive lineman for the LA Rams, said, anything besides a Super Bowl or less than a Super Bowl is unacceptable. I understand that. That's a great mentality to have. My concern is this. Andrew Whitworth is going to turn 40 this upcoming year. If the team goes well and everything that goes correct, I don't have a problem with calling the Rams contenders. I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem if everything goes well and like everyone stays healthy and they can't perform and they're not good. I have a question about that. Is this under Sean McVay's tutelage that because now there's nothing can go wrong for you at this point. You have the play. You signed Jalen Ramsey, so he's staying along. He's staying right here. You brought in Matthew Stafford. You can't. Cooper Kupp is coming in near the end of his rookie contract. There comes a point in time you can't blame anybody anymore. You can't blame, we didn't have a good quarterback. Matt Stafford's a great quarterback. He just never performed on a team that he had because his team wasn't very good. He's always had good numbers. He's just never had a good team around him. Moving on to Ryan Fitzpatrick, another quarterback in the NFL. Fitzpatrick can break an ugly record. This was brought up earlier this morning, where it came to everyone's attention that Fitzpatrick could lose to 30 of the 32 teams in his career. Now, this has never happened, by the way. It never happened. Why would it never happen? Because it doesn't happen. It never happens. There's 7 quarterbacks that it almost happened to, and 2 of them are Hall of Famers, or going to be a Hall of Famer. That's Brett Favre, Drew Brees. Those are the 2 guys that most likely will be in the Hall of Fame. It also has Matt Hasselbeck, John Kitna, Drew Bledsoe, Alex Smith, and Carson Palmer. The question is, because if Fitzpatrick loses, he will be the first quarterback of all time to lose to 30 of 32 teams at some point of his career. Now, obviously, he's been on a lot of teams. He's been a journeyman quarterback for many years. He's performed. I remember when I said earlier in the offseason about how I wanted Ryan Fitzpatrick to go on the Patriots because he would have been the first quarterback, I believe, to my knowledge, to be on every team in one division. No one else, I believe, has ever done that. Where they've been, like, Ryan Fitzpatrick was on the Buffalo Bills. He was on the New York Jets. He was on the Miami Dolphins last year. All he had to go do was be on the New England Patriots, and we've been the first quarterback, I believe, of all time to take a snap for every team in that division. I don't think that's ever happened before. He's been a journeyman quarterback. He's played somewhat well, but it's just, he'll get you twice a year, and that would be the end of it. And finally, on today's report, Josh Gordon has applied again for reinstatement. Now, my question is this. How many times do we give Josh Gordon another chance in this league? And I'm not saying he's a terrible player, and I'm not saying he's a terrible person. I'm just saying, you've never played multiple years on one team and not been suspended and then forced to come back and play a few more years. You've never played years where you've gotten in trouble and you've stayed on the same team for your whole career or portions of your career. The last time I believe he did that was in Cleveland, which is the team who drafted him. So it's just not happened. And now, granted, everyone can do with his talent. The problem is, can he stay on the field? That's his problem. And if you're Josh Gordon, that's a thing you have to think about. How many more chances do I believe I deserve to stay in this league? Is it 1? Is it 3? Is it 8? Or is it none? Before you leave, I want you to put in the comment section how many chances Josh Gordon deserves in the NFL. You decide.